live in a world where instant gratification is a big thing. There are no 5 asana, 2 pranayam, 1 mudra that can fix anything. That is not how yoga works. The problem is people start questioning and criticizing. नहीं हो रहा है, thought control नहीं कर पा रहे हो. Control ही तो नहीं करना है मेरे भाई.
Risha Dhingra, certified holistic yoga teacher and a practitioner.
She has more than 8 lakh followers on Instagram and has transformed thousands of lives.
Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. That means chitta means your consciousness. Vritti means the fluctuations that you keep experiencing. That's the root cause of all of your.
Grisha incorporates meditation techniques in combination with yogic practices to sync body, mind and spirit.
When you start practicing yoga, automatically the change starts happening. The point is, meditation is not like you close your eyes, you want to silence your mind. Some people, they are so agitated and anxious, for them to even sit for 5 minutes to listen to someone is challenging. The pain may not be physically there, but psychologically it is still inside you. You may have healed physically, but psychologically you are still damaged. When you're talking about overthinking and anxiety, inability to withdraw the senses, that's why you're not able to sleep. Only
every single individual knows stress is harmful, but how much it can impact.
when such release happen in front of our eyes, the amount of pain we see coming out from their bodies is unimaginable.
आई थिंक बहुत सारे लोग हैं जो थोड़ा बहुत योगा कर लेते हैं. मेरी अंडरस्टैंडिंग है कि मेडिटेशन से अभी भी थोड़े लोग दूर है.
Right.
और अगर लोग डेली लेवल पे योगा मेडिटेशन नहीं कर रहे हैं तो ये ज़रूर देखना चाहिए. आज की हमारी लाइफ ऐसी हो गई है, इट्स सो स्ट्रेसफुल. समहाउ the world has changed in a way that if I look at my parents and I look at our generation, and I think I can't even imagine जो next generation आ रही है. I think the only way to combat this lifestyle and cope up with living in this way is through utilizing these powerful things that we have. And they're extremely powerful. I have,
Absolutely.
to some way, I think I would call myself as standard one of, junior KG of beginner of this world. बट दो 2.5 साल पहले मैंने कभी भी लाइफ में प्रॉपरली योगा मेडिटेशन नहीं किया था. एंड कहते हैं ना कि लाइफ में जब कुछ बुरा होता है तब इंसान कुछ अच्छा तब कुछ अच्छा होने वाला होता है. सो आई हैड अ बेबी एंड आई वेंट थ्रू सो टफ पोस्टपार्टम टाइम, एंड दैट्स व्हेन समहाउ thanking my stars that I got connected to the right set of teacher and people, and I said okay मैं योगा शुरू करती हूँ. मेरा इंटेंशन था अरे थोड़ा योगा शुरू करूँगी, वर्कआउट होगा, इतना वेट बढ़ गया है, वेट लॉस करूँगी तो सब ठीक होगा. तो उस इंटेंशन से मैं गई थी और मैंने कभी एक्सपेक्ट नहीं किया था कि मुझे रिटर्न में इतना कुछ मिलेगा. जिस दिन मैं योगा और मेडिटेशन करती हूँ उस दिन मैं एक बहुत ज़्यादा डिफरेंट इंडिविजुअल फील करती हूँ. थ्रू आउट माई ऑफिस, थ्रू आउट माई पर्सनल लाइफ, माई एनर्जी लेवल्स, माई एबिलिटी टू अब्जॉर्ब issues and challenges and crisis and not given to or not get overwhelmed with a crisis, right? I'm just peaceful and I am more ready to bring it on. And that's my definition of explaining my personal experience with little that I have done in the last 2 years. But I'm so excited to hear this from you.
Thank you so much, Saloni ji. Hari Om. And it's actually a pleasure, honor to be here, to be talking about the beautiful healing power of traditional practices of yoga. And any such platform is a tool for us to communicate to a larger base about what yoga can truly bring to your being. So thank you so much, first of all, for inviting me, having me here. Secondly, you rightly said कि बहुत कुछ आपके जीवन में बदल गया राइट आफ्टर टेकिंग अप योगा प्रैक्टिसेस. चाहे आप किसी भी दरवाजे से अंदर आए हो, बट वंस यू कम इनसाइड यू realize what possibilities this practice can open. That's why there is a shloka that says that yoga karmesu kaushalam, meaning everything that you do, excellence and betterment in everything is yoga. So whether you are pursuing your career, your studies, or your life, to be able to give your 100% without any distraction is what yoga is, right? That's what yoga truly means. And there are many definitions to which we will keep unfolding as we pick up different aspects of yoga. But one thing is this, that excellence in everything, and here excellence is not fighting with yourself or world. Excellence meaning realizing that I am doing my 100%. And if something has to turn out well for me, it will. And acceptance of that is yoga.
Wow. So deep. Before we get into the world of yoga and
Ji.
meditation, Grisha ji, I want you to share a little bit about how did you reach here? एक normal life, corporate career सब छोड़ के आप ये path पे चल पड़े. So tell us a little bit about your childhood and how this happened.
So my childhood was very interesting. I was, my father literally raised me like a boy. He was very tough on me. And I think that is one of the reasons why I was very disciplined. And that discipline factor came from that time of my childhood, which actually helped me develop discipline in yoga as well. Because कहते हैं ना, योगा डिसिप्लिन के बिना कुछ भी नहीं है. तो one of the things that I picked up from my childhood, and all thanks to how my parents, especially my father, the way he raised me, I think a lot of discipline was ingrained in me since the childhood, and that's the reason why I was able to follow it. So my childhood was very interesting. Good part was that my parents never forced me into anything. I was raised like a wild, free child, and I think I still carry that spirit, which actually helped me take such a decision of leaving something behind and then moving on to a bigger purpose in life. So childhood was in a way very beautiful. I've grown up in a small town, and being in small town of Haryana gave me a lot of opportunity to explore myself, because वहाँ पे ना rules and regulations नहीं होते हैं life में. आप घूम रहे हो, खेल रहे हो. There's a lot of outdoor activities. So I was very much into sports. I was very physically active. सो स्कूल में या कहीं पे भी कोई भी फिजिकल एक्टिविटी रिलेटेड कोई भी कॉम्पिटिशन्स होने, आई वाज द फर्स्ट वन टू एनरोल. सो मुझे लगता है कि वो फिजिकल जो डिसिप्लिन था, वो भी कहीं ना कहीं जब मैं सोचती हूँ ये रिफ्लेक्ट हुआ है मेरी आज की जर्नी में. क्योंकि जब मैंने अपने आसन की जर्नी शुरू करी थी तो वो कहीं ना कहीं रिलेटेड है उस डिसिप्लिन से जो मुझे चाइल्डहुड से मिला. तो थैंक यू फॉर ब्रिंगिंग दिस अप, बिकॉज एक्चुअली मेरी चाइल्डहुड में जो कुछ भी मैंने इम्बाइब और इनग्रेन करा है, इट हैज़ हेल्प मी excel in this path, or at least pursue this with complete devotion. So yes.
And during your corporate career, did something happen that made you sort of कि आज से मैं पूरी लाइफ योगा पे डेडिकेट करना चाहती हूँ और मैं ये सुबह वाला 6 to 9 वाला जॉब छोड़ देती हूँ? ये कैसे हुआ?
So everything was going according to my plan. I would say the God intervened. Literally, we all have plans in life, and everything was going according to my plan. Truly, whatever I had thought of my career to be, the position I wanted, the space I wanted, it was just going in the right direction. And at a point, my plan intersected with the God's plan. And that's when confusion started. That's when this, the desire started to, look at the God's plan. Actually, it happened this way that, and my journey, especially my switch from corporate to this sadhana path, it is actually a classic example of how inner work can bring so much from within you, which is inside you, but you don't see it because you are externalized so much. So during the time of first wave of COVID, we all were shut in the house, and I was a person who was very workaholic, very outgoing, would always be surrounded with people, working with people, marketing and advertising. You're always working with different kinds of people. Very, very, I would say, demanding career that I had, and I was enjoying it very much. Suddenly, you are closed in a house, and that's when a lot of health issues also started surfacing, because जब आप कह रहे हो ना, बह रहे होते हो, आप ध्यान ही नहीं देते हो अपने ऊपर कि समथिंग इज गोइंग रॉन्ग, एंड इवन इफ यू नो योर बॉडी इज ट्राइंग टू कम्युनिकेट टू यू, आर टू बिजी टू लिसन टू इट. So during the corona time when we were shut, initial couple of months were like, oh wow, yeah, we get to spend time with ourselves, we get to be at home, we don't have to go to office. But then after 2 3 months, everyone started facing the depression and stress and overeating, all that lack of movement. So in that phase I was feeling suddenly very depressive. I literally gained 8 to 10 kgs during that span. My digestion was struggling from so long, but because I slowed down, I could then observe it. So I had a lot of I developed IBS, and you know, a lot of acid reflux started happening while I was at home. And I was so surprised that this has been building in me from so long. I never paid attention to it, and I was very stressful because to a workaholic person there was no work happening. So in that moment I thought, okay, if not much, I can at least start with some yoga practice, right? Only to just bring my health back to, you know, balance. I was mentally also very distracted. One thing was there that I have this even now, that if I set my heart onto something, I pursue it with complete perseverance and 100%. So I started doing up, you know, picking up yoga practices. And but as I was practicing, just a 5 to 10 minutes of breathing started shifting my energies, and over a period of time I could see my digestion coming back. And the most beautiful part of doing this practice was all that was not serving me well in terms of food, habits, thoughts, they just started moving away from me on its own. That's when I was like, and I didn't observe it for like 6 7 months because I was just focused on practicing. But then I realized, why do I not feel like eating these things that I truly enjoyed so much? I just have no interest in them. And slowly, so many other aspects of life, everything that was not serving me, from thoughts to emotions to people to food, they started drifting away from me without me putting any efforts. I was just putting all my efforts into doing practice. And because I felt so good, I was like, there is more to it. I want to read, I want to learn. So I started reading books. And then I became so passionate about uncovering every aspect of it. How is it changing me? I had a lot of temperament issues, huge, and my anger was subsiding. I was responding to situation, then reacting, and I was like, no one is guiding me. What is happening? And the most natural answer to that was, of course, because this one thing that I've added to my life is yoga every day in the morning. And that itself brought so much changes in me. So, next 1 year, I just spent, while I was doing my job, 1 year I spent only reading about it, listening to pioneers in this space, listening to, for example, Sadhguru, and reading different books from different yogis, also connecting with a couple of yoga teachers I knew back then, and observing their journey. So 1 year I spent just doing my practice and reading more about it, more and more. I got so passionate about it that whatever little time I could get, even in my office, you will find me reading articles and different aspects of yoga. And my boss observed it. He's like, you're not present anymore. And I actually told him, I think I am not. And that's when I would say the God's plan kind
Came
of, I
in.
started hearing, you know, that God's plan. So see, I just wanted to say that how little bit of inner work, the moment distraction stopped in my life, I was put in a room, in a house because of Corona. That you can call it a restriction, or you know, like you are locked in a room, but to me that was the most transformative experience because I realized this passion inside me, you know, it came alive during that time. And there came a point where I would just go to office, do my work, and just come back home to my mat, to my practice. So when I could not give my 100% to that job, and there was this calling, I have to go to Rishikesh, I have to go to Rishikesh, constantly in my mind, you know, as if something is telling me in the sleep while I'm awake. And I started talking to it about it to my husbands and looking for ashrams and schools where I can go. And one fine day, I was like, that's
Let's
it.
go.
That's it. I think I can now feel it in my bones
Chalo,
and
Rishikesh.
my nerves. Let's go. I can always come back to this. I've
Yes.
earned so much in 8 years of career, that much trust I had in me, that, I just want to go and learn what this magic is. That was the intention. I didn't want to quit corporate career to be a yoga teacher. I had no such desire. I just wanted to learn what is this magical thing that has changed a person like me, who is very rigid in nature, who was at least. So that's how, for once, I listened to the God's plan.
So beautiful and so inspiring. I hope कि मैं और बहुत सारे लोग जो आज सुन रहे हैं वो फील कर सके जो आपने ये जर्नी में फील किया, बिकॉज ये बहुत पावरफुल चीज़ है और अगर हम इसे यूटिलाइज नहीं कर रहे हैं हमारी लाइफ में, सो देर इज़, आई थिंक वी आर स्टिल नॉट लिविंग दैट फुलफिल्ड लाइफ. दिस मोर दैट वी कैन गेट इन लाइफ. सो ग्रीशा जी, योगा और मेडिटेशन बहुत मिसअंडरस्टूड या कंफ्यूज्ड चीज़ है, राइट? यू स्टार्टेड विद अ ब्यूटिफुल डेफिनेशन ऑफ योगा, जस्ट sort of change the perspective to what yoga is. Like I said, मेरे लिए योगा था कि अच्छा सूर्य नमस्कार करना है, प्राणायाम करना है, एक तरीका का वर्कआउट है. अच्छा क्या करूं, जुम्बा क्लास है, योगा क्लास है, वेट ट्रेनिंग है. अच्छा जिम जाऊंगी तो कुछ समझ तो आ नहीं रहा है, क्या करूं, रनिंग शुरू करूं, रनिंग बोरिंग लग रहा है, अच्छा चलो योगा क्लास ज्वाइन करें. तो that's how I think a beginner or someone who has never done yoga thinks about yoga. Please help us understand how should people, especially a beginner जिसने कभी नहीं किया है, should sort of understand yoga, and how should they identify कि ये मेरे लिए है, मुझे start करना चाहिए कि नहीं?
Absolutely. So very good question, by the way, first of all, because I think a lot of people do struggle कि मुझे सिर्फ meditation करना है, yoga नहीं करना है, या मुझे सिर्फ yoga करना है, meditation नहीं करना है. I just want to tell everyone that the path is yoga and the destination is yoga. Meditation is yoga. We often name it separately, but where yoga is leading you is meditation, okay? And the path itself is also called yoga. तो ये भी योग है और जहाँ पहुँच रहे हो वो भी योग है, because yoga is the union, okay? Now in layman terms or in Western terms, to simplify it, for people to understand, we call it a union of body, mind and soul, right? तो आत्मा, शरीर और हमारे प्राणों का मिलन, you can say. अगर हम थोड़ा और ट्रेडिशनल एक्सप्लेनेशन में जाएंगे, so it's a union of Shiva and Shakti, Jad and Chetan. Now these are very complicated words for normal audience, but let me explain in layman terms again कि योगा है क्या. देखिए, सबसे पहले योगा is a very comprehensive practice. ना तो it's only physical, ना ये theoretical या meditation only है, okay? It's a very comprehensive practice which has the angle of philosophy and has the angle of practical too. So imagine how wonderful it is. It gives you theory. Now you go to a doctor, the doctor gives you a medicine, and you never ask why this medicine was designed, what will it do to my system. What you know is it will fix me. Yoga is not that. Yoga is like, you need to know what went wrong. What is the cause? What is the source of your fluctuation, your vritti, your problems, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, जिस भी वृत्ति में आप हैं, क्यों हो रहा है आपको ये, समझो. Then it gives you practical tools. Okay, if this is happening to you, choose this path. If this is happening to you, choose this path. The beautiful part about yoga is there are various paths and various ways to practice yoga, not just one, for every prakriti, right? This is what yoga is. It's a comprehensive practice which has parts of philosophy, parts of jnana, karma, bhakti, and then hatha yoga, which is your physical practices, and then dhyana yoga or raj yoga, which is your meditation practices. Now, in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, it is said that yoga chitta vritti nirodha. That means chitta means your consciousness, Vritti means the fluctuations that you keep experiencing, and that's the root cause of all of your diseases. अभी कुछ सोच रहे हो, एक सेकेंड में कुछ हो रहा है. You're constantly distracted from one space to other, and that is what is causing problems. And even for that matter, half the physical problems come from the mind. Actually, not half. I would say 80% of the problems start here and start manifesting into your physical body. So, yoga chitta vritti nirodh. Nirodh means cessate. So, once these mental fluctuations are removed or at least are brought down to peace, your physical problems are solved. That's what a Yoga Sutra that was compiled in 400 CE, imagine thousands of years ago, talks about yoga. That is literally, Patanjali is the biggest psychologist. He has literally unfolded every aspect of your mind and told you what is causing the problem. Okay, so yoga, when you pursue the practical aspect without having an understanding of what my root cause is, the physical aspect is going to help you for a certain period of time, but you are bound to fall back into the same problem if you don't understand the root cause of it. That's why learning bits of philosophy is important in yoga, and that's what makes it holistic yoga practice, right? Now, for beginners, not everyone, again, as I said, yoga, there are different paths for different prakritis, right? Some people cannot sit and take jnana straight up. They are so agitated and anxious. For them to even sit for 5 minutes to listen to someone is challenging, right? They should start from the sthula sharira, that means the physical practices, but also with a good teacher who will eventually very smartly lead them into the deeper meaning of practices through asana. That's what we do. Lot of people, asana is the most accessible practice in yoga, and there's no harm in starting with asana. You should actually start with asana, because if your physical body is not stable, forget about experiencing the inner energies that are rising and moving upward, right? That is impossible. So, for a beginner, starting with physical practice, asana abhyas is very, very helpful, but with a teacher who will very smartly lead them into the inner aspects of asana abhyas. We call asana abhyas moving meditation. A good teacher has the capacity to make you meditate in even a single posture in a span of 10 breaths. So if you're doing the asana abhyas properly, that is a good start for practice. To simplify it, and I will not delve deeper into the various scriptures, but one little aspect I mentioned about Patanjali Yoga Sutra. As you go into the sadhana part, the second chapter of Patanjali Yoga Sutra, there he has given the Ashtang path of yoga. So it starts from yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. मैं बिल्कुल भी कंफ्यूज नहीं कर रही हूँ आपको, ये शब्द सुन के घबराना नहीं. यम नियम कुछ नहीं होता है. इट्स लाइक आपका कंडक्ट बाहर के एनवायरनमेंट में कैसा है और आपके प्रति कैसा है, उसके 5 फर्दर बाइफिकेशन होते हैं, एंड देन कम आसन, राइट? वो यम एंड नियम इज like the disciplines that you need to imbibe when you're taking up the further practices of yoga. So yes, for beginners, you can always start with the asana abhyas. Doesn't matter where you're coming from, what your mindset is, as long as you're practicing with a good teacher. कुछ भी mind की thinking आप लेकर आयो mat पे, the teacher is, as long as you're open to the practice, the teacher will take you there. That's the role of a guru in yoga. That's why having a guru or a right teacher is very, very,
Very important.
essential.
I completely agree, and I think the experience that one has, right? मैंने लोगों से पहले सुना था, अरे बोरिंग लगता है मुझे योगा, इसलिए अब मैं जुम्बा ज्वाइन कर रही हूँ, बहुत स्लो है. But when I finally started, I think I would give all the credit to my teacher for making me fall in love with my yoga, right? I think I like I said, I'm still starting off, but whenever I'm on the mat, I just have gratitude and I pray to God, please bring me back here to my mat.
Very nice.
Right? So that is something she was able to
Inculcate.
inculcate.
Yeah. Very.
मेडिटेशन की तरफ चलते हैं. आई थिंक आपने बहुत सारे नाम बोले योगा के. नाउ आई एम रियलाइजिंग हाउ कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव एंड वास्ट योग इज. बट एक हो गया आसना, लेट्स कॉल इट फिजिकल एक्सरसाइज. दूसरा आई थिंक जो बहुत कॉमनली लोग समझते हैं इज मेडिटेशन. एंड आई थिंक दोनों में ज़्यादा मुश्किल मेडिटेशन है. मेडिटेशन से बहुत ज़्यादा लोग दूर भी भागते हैं, पता नहीं क्यों. आँख बंद करके बैठा दिया, मुझे तो नींद आ जाती है, मुझे तो और ज़्यादा थॉट्स आने लगते हैं. मतलब आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट दीज पीपल जो बिल्कुल भी नहीं कर रहे हैं मेडिटेशन, राइट? what would your sort of thing would be for people who are anti meditation for whatever experience they've had so far, कि नहीं हो सकता ये वाली चीज? तो
एब्सोल्युटली गुड क्वेश्चन. एक्चुअली ये एंटाई मेडिटेशन जो है ना, ये अपने तो देखिए कि एंटाई आसन और योगा भी है, ऐसी बात नहीं है. क्योंकि तमस शरीर में इतना है ना कि कुछ भी कर पाने की जो शक्ति है वो इतनी तीव्र नहीं है कि आप सोच लो, ठान लो और अभ्यास करते रहो. बिकॉज वन ऑफ द की एलिमेंट, वेदर यू पिक अप आसन, अभ्यास, प्राणायाम, or for that matter meditation, and even the psychological part, the philosophy part, everything is practice. One of the things that lack in in the practitioners who give up very quickly is the patience and practice. Two things, believe me, if you don't know how to meditate, if you only have intention to sit for 15 minutes, I can guarantee you, sooner or later you will arrive there. You may not need a guru. As long as you have the intention to sit for 15 minutes, that no matter what, thoughts aa rahe hain, kuch nahi pata kya karna hai, baithna hai, sooner or later you will get there. So whether you have the knowledge or not, if you have the intention, you will get there. Because no matter how much of information is coming to you, if there's no practice, it's not going to make any change. So that's one of the things that is lacking today. Thankfully, we live in a world where instant gratification is a big thing. Everyone believes that it's a medicine that will put in your mouth and you will feel wow. Everyone wants to feel wow in one day. I am sorry, that is not what yoga is. Okay, it requires patience and practice, and even healing for that matter. If you're going through chronic health diseases, it takes a very long time for you to, along with lifestyle and right practices, to come out of it, right? Now, people who want to meditate but find it hard to meditate, my suggestion to you is start with asana practice. Okay, start with asana practice, because asana, when done right, okay, and it's not a physical exercise only, it definitely brings a lot of benefits to you, actually more than you can imagine, because it fixes you internally. Forget about how you look on the outside. What happens inside decides how you look on the outside. If I'm happy inside, I will look happy on the outside.
You are glowing, by the way. I Grisha ji, I saw you and I was like, ye glow dikh raha hai face pe.
All his grace. So जो आप फील कर रहे हो ना, वो आप बन जाते हो. यही सच्चाई है. अगर मैं अगली खुद को फील करती हूँ अंदर से, तो मैं अगली बाहर से फील करूँगी, नो मैटर मैं कितना कुछ भी क्यों ना लगा लूँ अपनी बॉडी पे. सो वन थिंग इज, if you find it very hard to sit, first of all, to meditate, you must learn to sit. And the capacity to sit comes from asana abhyas. And here I'm not talking about treating asana as just physical practice, but making your body supple and flexible enough for the prana to flow through it. One of the aspects I'm touching here, which is a bridge between the physical and the subtle practice of yoga, meditation, is your breath. Is your breath. So in fact, one of the programs that I'm doing is pranayam dhyan sadhana, is I am teaching people how pranayam can automatically bring the effortless state of meditation. You just learn to balance your breath and the meditation will come to you. That's what we teach to everyone, that you only do one practice and the other practice should automatically come to you. That's the right way to identify if you're doing something right. So if you're holding the asana with full awareness for 10 deep aware breaths, automatically the prana will start flowing through that specific part of the body. And once you do pranayam, which is channelizing that prana into your body, automatically you come to sthirata, where the physical body is so stable that you feel like almost it does not exist because you've forgotten about the gross body. Pranayama brings you internal from the physical body to your breath and sensation, samvegnai. And from the breath and sensation, slowly, as you practice these two limbs, automatically the dharana develops. Automatically, you come to a state where you're breathing and you're just breathing.
And
Right?
100% present.
Present. And you are not disturbed by why thoughts are coming. You become the witness slowly. And this witnessing starts from the asana practice, where we tell you to, okay, focus on this area of your body. What are we doing? From that point, we are trying to make you witness what is happening inside the body. So deeper, eventually you come to a state where meditation happens to you. And at that point in time, Saloni ji, every experience, whether good or bad, is blissfulness. One of the key things that is taught in Yoga Sutra is you must have तीव्र संवेग, उत्साह. ये मेरी प्रैक्टिस है, ये मेरी साधना है, कुछ भी मेरा एक्सपीरियंस है, आई विल शो अप ऑन द मैट एंड आई विल बी ग्रेटफुल फॉर व्हाट आई हैव गेन. द प्रॉब्लम इज पीपल स्टार्ट क्वेश्चनिंग एंड क्रिटिसाइजिंग. नहीं हो रहा है, थॉट कंट्रोल नहीं कर पा रहे हो. कंट्रोल ही तो नहीं करना है मेरे भाई, आने दो. Watch the movie, be the screen. I always tell all the sadhaks who practice with us, is screen impacted by what is playing on it? It's just witnessing. Be the screen. जो thoughts आ रहे हैं वो आपके भीतर से ही तो आ रहे हैं. It's important you watch them. There is so much inside you. There comes a point when you don't entertain them, they will stop bothering you anymore. Meditation is not like you close your eyes and you want to silence your mind. If it was this easy,
It's not easy, trust me. I think 10 सूर्य नमस्कार से 108 करना is easier than achieving that with meditation. This is tougher than anything else. So I completely.
but that's what we are doing, right? A physical sharir se hi. देखिए what a beautiful, this one saying that whole of your mind is not in your body, but whole of your body is in your mind. It is up to your mind how you use your body, but because it's a two-way relationship, you can take, because our rishis, no, they understood that for a person to sit and meditate, it is going to be challenging in this yuga, in this generation. So therefore, they crafted a bottoms-up approach. They're not telling you to start from there and come down. They're saying, go from the bottom. Start from this body. This is the tool. This is the yantra. And this is going to lead you into the deeper state of meditation. And whoever is listening to this, I want to say that मुश्किल नहीं है. Please don't think ये मुश्किल है. आपके अंदर साधना का भाव है या नहीं है, आप वो सोचिए. If you are ready to sit every day, it will come to you, I guarantee you. Are you willing to commit? If you are, then it is not difficult. And trust me, the amount of experiences that you are going to unfold by just sitting is not parallel to anybody else's experience. This will be truly yours.
Beautiful. Let's move to people जो थोड़ा बहुत कर रहे हैं, right? And I think everybody has found their own way of. किसी के पास टीचर होता है जो गाइडेड मेडिटेशन करा देते हैं, कि कोई एप्स डाउनलोड कर रहे हैं, कोई यूट्यूब पे वीडियो ऑन करके ट्राई कर रहे हैं. आर देयर एनी 2-3 फंडामेंटल प्रिंसिपल्स दैट यू वुड लाइक टू शेयर? बिकॉज आई एम ट्राइंग टू सॉल्व द मिथ्स अराउंड मेडिटेशन हियर, राइट? और कन्फ्यूजन्स अराउंड, मैं सुबह करूँ, दोपहर को करूँ, नहीं मुझे बैठ के ही करना चाहिए, पर नीचे बैठता हूँ तो मुझसे बैठा ही नहीं जा रहा, क्रिस क्रॉस चेयर पे तो नहीं कर सकते मेडिटेशन. सो देयर आर लॉट ऑफ दीज questions when once you are, let's say, trying to do it. Are there any sort of whatever you would like to share जो help करे लोगों को?
जी बिल्कुल. So that is definitely there, that having a teacher is, so there are two ways to do it. One, if you have a living guru, the living guru's pranic energy is so high that in the presence of that guru itself, you experience the state of meditation. It is said that, for example, you go to a very old ancient temple where, it's the energies of the earth are very high. A lot of people have done their sadhana there, done chanting there. A lot of rishis have done their practices there. When you be and you are closer to the elements of nature, it becomes naturally very easy for your body to align with those energy, and your ability to experience a deep relaxation, if not meditation completely. If you do not at the moment have a living guru, that's not an issue. Okay, a good teacher is helpful into guiding you into meditation to different routes. Okay, through conscious body scanning, through chanting, through breathing, through for that matter, transcendental ways of entering into meditation. There are many ways to develop the awareness, but once you understand that this specific path works for me, you eventually pick that up on your own. Always depending upon a teacher to take you to that highest experience is not possible, because till dharana, the guru can take you. Dharana means the focus, the awareness. Beyond that, it is you and your abhyas. Beyond that, it is your journey. So it's okay whichever route you are taking. That route is only helping you develop the awareness and internalize. Once you internalize, automatically the love towards the practice develop, because उतनी ही देर में आपको उसके benefits, relaxation, calmness feel होने लग जाती है. अब जब आपने रस चख ही लिया है, so who is going to stop you from going back to it again, right? So once the ras of sadhana drops, okay, I have to sit and from here on my experience. So no problem, you can come from any route, but as long as you realize that it is my self practice, it is the abhyas that is going to lead me to a higher state of meditation eventually. Meditation is the ability to be indifferent to what is happening. ऐसा नहीं होगा कि सडनली आपकी आंखें बंद हैं और अंधेरा हो गया और थॉट्स बंद हो गए. नो, फर्स्ट इज not being disturbed by anything that's going, be the screen, as I said. Till there, the guru can guide you with various techniques. Beyond that, as you practice longer and longer and longer, there comes a time when these thoughts become to get completely silent, and that is a state of chidakash, meaning like absolutely silence. That's a higher state of meditation. And the second part that you asked is, I cannot sit. That is why I advise to do asana practice first. Absolutely, because it is clearly written in the sutras also for the prana, and it's not just about your capacity to sit. That is one of the reasons why you should take care of your physical body. Second is, the prana has to flow through your body to uplift your energy. If you have stiffness in certain region, the muscles are contracted, the prana is not flowing through, there is an disturbance there, and if it is not flowing through, you're not going to experience the higher states. So prana has to, the vital energy force has to flow through your body. That flows only when your body is supple and flexible. Okay, that's why flexibility is given more importance in yoga than strength comparatively. Both are important, but in yoga they focus a lot on flexibility. That's why, because A, you can sit without any numbness and tingling sensations. B, the prana is, there's a certain position, your spine should be straight. Why? Because your energy centers are along the spine, so they travel up. We call it chakra. They travel up, the energy travels up, and those who are serious meditator, and as I speak, they must be smiling on the other side of the camera. You literally feel it in your pelvis. The moment you sit, there is a lock that applies, and from there the energy starts traveling up, and you realize that sensation is coming along your spine up till the Sahasrara chakra. This is for people who experience the energy, can now feel the sensation coming down. If you can't sit, there are a couple of forms of practices. One of them is Nishpanda Bhav, which you sit taking the back wall support and you open both your legs. So let's say that you are not able to sit, but you really want to practice meditation, because I understand flexibility in the body takes a little time for it to develop and for you to be able to sit with your spine erect. There are multiple ways of sitting using the props. Okay, so one is you can always use a cushion. There are cushions specific to meditation underneath your buttocks, so that automatically elevates your spine. You know, a lot of time in sadhana it's written you should sit in padmasana, which is lotus pose. Why? Because automatically your knees touch down, so there's a slight elevation in the hips that helps in keeping your spine erect. Now if you can't do that, then you can use this cushion underneath your buttocks to ensure that your spine is straight. How much ever I can sit with my spine straight, I always use cushion. Why? Because you never know, at some point in time if you're in meditation, you're sitting for long and your spine rounds, then that becomes an obstruction. So always use a cushion underneath your spine. Your knees cannot touch down, so you can have your one cushion underneath the knees as well. And sit in ardha siddhasana. A lot of people sit in cross-legged posture, which is not actually advisable, especially if you're not flexible. Because why? In cross-legged your pelvis becomes like a bowl, your knees are up and there's pressure on the hips and your ankles are pressing down on the mat, which starts hurting, and then you feel numbness. When you sit in
Absolutely.
ardha siddhasana, you're basically just bringing the left heel closer to groin and then right foot ahead of it. So both your knees are then slightly more relaxed and your buttocks are relaxed. You can have cushion under the buttocks, you can have cushion under the knees. Another type of meditation is Nishpanda Bhav meditation. It is, and I'm not going to explain what that is, but the seating position, in that is very beautiful. So you take the wall support where you touch your middle back and the lower back with the wall, and you can also plant your head slightly towards the wall. But if you have tendency to doze off in meditation, then don't do it. If you have if you realize that you can be aware and not sleep in that, then you can relax your head. Otherwise, don't touch your head. Keep your neck relaxed, slightly chin turn upward, with your legs spread out. So, and palms turn upward, both your hands on the thighs, back of the hands on the thighs. One position is that. The problem here is in such positions, people tend to doze off. That's why more often we do not use these positions unless you are dealing with intermediate practitioners who know how to remain aware during the practice.
Um, what is the best time to meditate?
So, best time to meditate is when the nature is meditating. Okay,
Early
that's what
morning.
yes. So, you see, and I'm going to explain this to you why. When you wake up in the morning, you feel very calm and relaxed compared to the rest of the day. Why? Because you are not completely into the sleep or you have not become completely active. That is the time when you're just coming out of the sleep, you're slightly active and aware, but not too much into a lot of activity. You're somewhere in between, right? That in between is the state of meditation itself. In meditation, you are not sleeping, but you're also not active. You are in the middle. That's what meditation is. And the nature is doing the same. It's not completely morning. The sun is not shining bright in the early morning, and it's also not dark. That's why when you look at the sky, that in itself is so pleasant. इतना खूबसूरत लगता है, इतना peaceful लगता है. Why? Because it is, the nature is in the state of meditation. It is said that during this time, if you practice, I would say, and we call it Brahma Muhurat, and also 5 to somewhere between 5 to 7 a.m. is a very, very good time to pick up this practice. There are 4 sandhyas in the day when the shift between the two phases are happening. The second time is 12 p.m., but most of us are working at that time or we are distracted. So at 12 p.m., I'm giving you one bonus tip here. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, leave it for 5 minutes, close your eyes and sit. Prepare and condition yourself कि 12 बजे, unless I'm in a meeting, I will leave everything, all my gadgets and screen for 5 minutes. I'm just going to close my eyes and deep breathe. It will boost your energy for the rest of the day, for the second half of the day. Then we have our evening sandhya. So morning is a pratya kal sandhya, 12 p.m. is a madhya kal sandhya, and then we have sai kal sandhya, which is evening. Evening again when the sun is setting. Again the same setting is given to you. It's not completely dark, it's not completely day. The moon energy is taking over the sun. So this somewhere in between nature is, and you are also experiencing the same inside. Only you need to do is become aware of it. And you become aware by sitting and just not doing anything else in the external world. Again, is a good time. And then the Kali Sandhya is the night time, which is a 12 a.m. And most of us are sleeping at the time, so not advisable unless you are a very advanced sadhak.
Got it. This one sort of thing that I really want to discuss is insomnia and sleep issues. Is there anything that one can do when they go to bed to sort of calm their thoughts down and peacefully go to sleep?
Sure. Again, I just want to add something to you that the preparation for good sleep does not start when you come to the bed. It starts from the evening, or what you're doing throughout your day is going to impact your sleep. So one of the reasons why insomnia happen, and I'm going to use one of the terminologies in our yoga system, that is a lot of rajas in the body. A lot of rajas means a lot of overthinking, anxiety, a lot of restlessness in the body, a lot of activation of sympathetic nervous system, which does not let you rest and restore. So inability to activate your parasympathetic, which is the rest and restore aspect of the nervous system. This is because of the rajas. Why rajas is so much? If you do a lot of talking throughout the day, so if you are someone who talks a lot, you are going to face difficulty. That is one of the reasons. If you are into a job जहाँ पे आप बहुत बात करते हो, बहुत social interaction करते हो, आपको नींद आने में difficulty होगी ही होगी. So for them, mindfulness breaks in between meetings or in between sessions is important. That's why I stressed upon the importance of taking 2 productive breaks in your day. Anytime post lunch or 12 p.m. 12 p.m. is a good time. Take a pause. Then again, evening when you come back home, take a pause. Or if you don't have time, again 3 p.m., somewhere between let's say 3 to 4 p.m., take a productive break, relax, cut down from screen. Another reason that increases a lot of rajas is screen time. If you have a lot of screen time throughout the day, it is going to impact your sleep. The foods that you eat, if you are eating your food at 10 p.m. and you want to sleep in next 1 hour, it is never going to happen, no matter how many practices I give you. But it is not going to happen because your digestion is active, the body is still working, and for your body to get into the restful state, the digestion has to relax, slow down. Your energy needs to put into other things. So one of the ways that, and I would say that you can do, is when you come back home, try not to have a lot of lights in your house. What happens is our house is full of a lot of flashy material things. There's just some houses I enter, they're just full of multiple lights on the ceiling. In the night, for people who find it difficult to sleep because of the rajas, it is advised to reduce the lighting. Use warm yellow lights in the house. In our house, we only have warm yellow lights. We don't use white lights at all. It helps in kicking the melatonin. If there is a slightly dark environment in the house, A, it is soothing. B, it kicks the melatonin, because that is one of the hormones that helps you go to sleep. So that is definitely very, very helpful. When you come back home, rinse yourself properly. हम क्या करते हैं, फटाफट से we just throw and then we sit and then we start scrolling and everything. Take a constructive break from the gadgets. Wash your feet, wash yourself completely, relax yourself. Maybe have some fragrances in your house, organic diffusers in the house that like really soothes your nerve. For you to sleep, you have to soothe your nervous system down. One of the ways is that have a light dinner, have khichdi, vegetable khichdi, sattvic khichdi, dalia, something that is less in portion. Light dinner is always helpful in putting you to sleep. Cut down on screen time, please, please, please. I mean, there are days, although I don't do it, but one of the days, once in a while, if there is something happening and I have to stay up on my screen even after 9, between 9 to 10 p.m., I definitely feel a shift in my sleep
You are seeing a
cycle.
guilty face here. You know, there are
ये होता ही
there
होता
are
है, मतलब
some, I think, few those bad days where I have seen. See, my work is entire day in front of my laptop, talking to people. I am in that category of falling for higher rajas. The I try to do this when I reach home back from office. I leave my phone near the door and I tell myself, this 1.5 hour now I have from 7 to 8:30 is for my kid, right? I have to be 100% present with my son. And then we play and we eat and we do our night routine and we have a good night party there before he goes to sleep and we put him to sleep. Now after that, after he sleeps, which is around 8:30, if I go to bed, I have a very peaceful sleep. These are the good days.
yeah.
The bad days when I put him to sleep and I'm like, oh, this is now my me time. Let me also watch something.
Yeah.
Switch on my screen back. And then when I go back to my screen, the night is ruined.
Yes. So this is exactly what happens. And I'm saying there's no, see, we are bound to work with screen. I mean, I may seem like a yoga sadhak, you must be in your head thinking that, oh, she takes a class in the morning, and then know the amount of work that I do, you cannot even imagine. So many talks, so many calls, so much screen time, plus this Instagram. I am working more than I was working in my job, and with full energy and without getting impacted by any of that. One way to do it is to take productive breaks in between. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I understand we live in a life where it's not easy to always move away from screen because you're bound to be on screen while you're working. But take productive breaks. Take productive breaks and try to avoid it in the night time as much as possible, right? Have early dinner if possible. Even if you're getting late, try to opt for lighter dinner, which is more watery in nature. It will digest faster. So let's say you're getting late, try to have a lighter meal which is more water based. Again, patli khichdi ya dalia is going to be very, very helpful because it's more water content and is going to help you with the digestion. Now, when it comes to practices, what you can do, one of the Ayurvedic practices that has helped many people bring down the rajas and also soothe the nervous system is padabhyangam, is massaging your feet. Always wash your feet, come to the bed and massage your feet. You can use either sesame oil, and based on different body types there are different oils. Most comfortable oil is badam oil because it is not it does not do any change to your prakriti. Either badam oil or shat dhaut ghritam, that's a special type of ghee which is 100 times water wash. You get little bit of that and massage it upward and massage your toes. Feet massage brings a lot of rajas down in your system, soothe your nervous system. Do some nada pratyaya, that means when you sit down, relax yourself. Do only ma sound chanting. In om, when you chant a u ma, a starts from navel, O reaches the center, and Ma is for your upper chakras. And agitation is felt here when you're talking about overthinking and anxiety, inability to withdraw the senses. That's why you're not able to sleep. Only Ma Ucharan for about 3 to 4 minutes is going to relax you, soothe you down completely. All your senses will soothe down, and then followed by some deep breathing. Nothing, just inhale and exhale. You can play a nice meditative music next to you and then lie down and relax yourself. Another way, a practice that you can pick up is a 10-minute yoga nidra, which is just body scanning. You can use an audio support, but if you are very aware by nature, you just have to do is just lie down in shavasana and start scanning your body from toes part by part each side till the crown of your head. You will not even know by what time you're asleep already.
Before you reach the head,
half the
slept.
times this happens.
Wow.
People tell me later on that Visha ji, मैं तो यहाँ पे थी उसके बाद पता नहीं कहाँ पे थी. I'm like, wherever you were, at least you were sleeping. So these are some practices that you can do. You can add gratitude to it, of course. One of the things that brings your passion and over passion, I would say, and rajas down is the gratitude. Thanking yourself, thanking your body, and thanking all the energies around. It brings a lot of difference to your sleep eventually.
Wow, beautiful. Moving on to the next piece, right? You mentioned about all of this anxiety and stress on this part of being in the body. Are emotions in some way trapped in our body? And do I feel that they come out, in some way through a body ailment? Um, Tell us a little bit about if this is true, and what can one do to sort of release these emotions and feel healthier in life?
Sure. It is definitely true. And let me explain this to you from a scientific point of view because, I remember in the community, I was one of those first people who started talking about it, and people like, oh my God, are emotions trapped in your pelvis? What nonsense, this and that. I got a lot of this, but then I tried to explain science to them. And when people started experiencing that in our classes, one of the classes that I take is emotional release class, and that is nothing, just an asana class, imagine. An asana class in which people release so much. They cry, and for 2 hours they are into it. They don't know where they are. Automatic release is happening. What happens is, if you are going through a lot of stressful period or trauma, obviously there are stress hormones that are acting on your body. The stress hormones, what do? They put you in a fight and flight mode. Okay, fight and flight mode is high blood pressure, contraction of your muscles, contraction, ultra pumping of your heart, so that you can fight or run. If a snake comes here, the body will look at the snake, and sudden rush of blood you will feel in the whole body, and you are going to, all your muscles will contract to exert as much as strength they can to help you run. When you are going through these situations, you are not stressed because of a snake coming to you, but because of the situations. But body has one way to respond to it. It is going to release stress hormone, and it is going to contract the muscles in the body. And when those muscle contractions happen, it is said that because of those emotions, those contractions have happened and the body has become stiff. And those emotions are now trapped inside you in the form of those memories. I'll give you an example. Let's say you get very badly hurt on your big toe because of a big stone, or you met with an accident in certain area, very bad accident. It is almost traumatic for you. You recover from it. Even though if you pass from the same area after the recovery, you are going to experience pain in that area. Why? Because the pain may not be physically there, but psychologically it is still inside you. You may have healed physically, but psychologically you are still damaged. And you are still going to feel. And I want to bring this up, we meet a lot of rape survivors who come to us for healing. The amount of pain we see coming out from their bodies, especially from their pelvis when we touch them, is unimaginable. When they come to us on the day one, they look like, okay, they've healed. But when we take them deeper and deeper, the amount of release that happens is phenomenal. So, this is how emotions are trapped inside your body, right? It's not like कि आपके specific body part में. Now, when we say that certain type of emotions are trapped in certain type of, it is because the area that you are stressing more, for example, when you take up a lot of unwanted responsibility, your spine and shoulders become rounded. And we literally have examples of people who come to us after the program ends, our residential programs, their spine and posture change, and they said, yeah, I felt it's because they are always stressed, right? The hormones are directed into certain areas, certain parts of the body. That's how hormones are working throughout your body. Different parts of the areas, they are regulating blood there and contractions are happening. So therefore you say that. And also because your adrenaline gland is here, so most of the time it's your lower body that gets impacted a lot, first of all. So all the fear related, guilt, fear related hormones are always operating in this area. A lot of fight and flight hormones are released from the adrenal gland. Adrenaline is, flushed into your system when it is not required. Now if the snake comes and I feel the rush, I will run and exhaust that energy. But you are not running, you are sitting and taking stress. You are not exhausting the energy that body has produced to protect you. Now it is stuffed inside you and you are contracted. So physical point of view, contractions in the body, that also stops the flow of prana, which ultimately manifests into physical problem. Someone who pushes themselves too much, short tempered, have a lot of anger issues, they are bound to face the digestion issues and cardiovascular issues. 100%. Why? Because they are in so much anger, they are always in fight and flight. Digestion happens in rest and restorative mode. So they are barely touching upon that area, digestion is gone. Okay. Then they also get develop endocrine problems because of the weak digestion. Second, they're unnecessarily putting pressure on the heart. So they're bound to going to face cardiovascular. It's written in the books, therapy books of yoga, what is the cause of this problem. So yes, that's how emotions are trapped inside you. When we make you aware in the practice, when you hold one asana and we help you channelize the energy into the part of the body, that's when you breathe and release and relax that part, the emotion and the memory associated that cause that contraction surface. When it surface, a lot of yelling, crying, all that happens because you literally, something that was suppressed inside you, and this happens in the case of a lot of suppression. When you suppress certain emotion in order to make yourself believe that you are healing, but you are suppressing. That's why release is very important in healing. And those emotions surface, and then we channelize people into helping them release. So suppression is one of the reasons why emotions get trapped in your body.
Very interesting, and something very new. I think that people will hear. I think this is something that people don't understand. That could be, how harmful stress is. We all know. Every single individual knows stress is harmful, but how much it can impact is crazy.
I just want to add to it that when such release happen in front of our eyes, people vomit. That's the amount of baggage they have. Fever, vomit, palpitations, sweating. That's how it is released from their body. And we've seen people, they go through a series of vomitings after these release classes we take. And after that, their face is changed, their eyes are changed. So imagine if you're doing these practices on regular basis, there's no room to store it anymore. And you don't need to go for healing for that matter. The healing is constantly
Yeah,
happening.
I just hope nobody reaches that stage जहाँ घर बार छोड़ के
Yes.
ऋषिकेश पहुंच के
हमें
ये
heal कर
heal
दो।
कर दो।
मुझे लगता है कि किसी को स्टेज पे जाने की जरूरत ही नहीं होनी चाहिए जहाँ पे वो लोगों से हीलिंग, एंड इसलिए इसकी एडवांटेज भी उठाई जाती है. यू आर टॉट रॉन्ग थिंग्स, इट इज कमर्शलाइज. वाई? बिकॉज हम वल्नरेबल है ना, ये हमारे ही तो कारण हो रहा है. एवरी अदर सेंटर इज अबाउट कम हील योर सेल्फ एंड सम नॉनसेंस इज हैपनिंग. नो, वी बिलीव इन एम्पावरिंग यू विद योगा सो मच that you don't have to go, even for that matter, don't even come to me.
वहाँ पहुंचे ही ना.
I
agree.
tell that to my students, I want you to practice in this manner in next 3 months, that you forget about me. That's what I want. And that is how every yoga teacher should be, I feel, at least.
On a day-to-day basis, right? How can one sort of release these emotions? Or I think what I'm gathering is कि आप बस प्रैक्टिस करते जाओ, और अगर आप डेली लाइफ में योगा, ध्यान, मेडिटेशन, whatever you have picked up from this plethora of things that yoga offers, वो करते जाओ तो वो अपने आप sorted rahega. But if there is anything else that you would recommend, would love to hear.
So the idea is not to release, the idea is to not store. Please understand. Yoga is not about or boosting your release mechanism. No, I mean, release is required when you've not done these practices and you're carrying a baggage. If I'm not making my baggage heavy, then there's no need of release. So the idea of learning yoga holistically, understanding the philosophical parts of it, is to condition your mind in a manner that it is not storing this anymore. And there are many ways to do it. One of the attitude, there are various bhavs in yoga which is taught to us, and one of the bhavs is the bhav of witness. That means the sakshi bhav. That means you always, not during the meditation but throughout the day, observe your thoughts that are coming, emotions that are happening, in a manner that you're observing them as a third person. So develop that conditioning of your mind. For example, I know this specific thing triggers me. Now, instead of letting myself trigger, I know I am going to get triggered, and I just look at it. देखो, अभी मैं trigger होने वाली हूँ. आया,
इससे
yeah.
होता है.
उसको देखो. ऐसे अपने विचारों को सुनो जैसे आप अपनी किसी दोस्त की कहानी सुन रहे हो. If someone comes to you and shares their thing with you, you give them advice. You don't become the character in their problem, right? You become that friend to your thoughts. You become that listener to your thoughts. That you are witnessing. You feel that this anger is not me. Believe me, this is mind-boggling change that happened to me. Before some emotion can hit you with the intensity, you are smiling at it. See, this is anger coming to me. Imagine if you come to that state with this attitude of witness, nothing can get to you. So one of the ways which I teach in various sadhana programs also is the sakshi bhav. Always constantly responding to your thoughts positively. Always, every time. And it does not happen in a day. You are bound to get deep into these emotions, fall back, no problem. The moment you realize that मुझे गुस्सा आ गया, मैंने बहुत कोशिश करी, कोई बात नहीं, गुस्सा आ जाता है तो उसे निकाल देना चाहिए. Suppression of anger is the cause of illness. I am sorry, we are conditioned, and in our religion also many places, you should not do this, you should not this, युद्ध में क्रोध नहीं करना चाहिए. क्रोध एंड प्यार बाय बर्थ लेके पैदा होते हो. एक बच्चे को सिर्फ दो ही चीजें तो आती हैं. Either that baby can get angry or can love you. The kid does not know any other emotion. So you are born with it. If you get angry, it's okay to take it out. But let's work at a level where anger cannot get to you so easily. Okay? So witnessing, the attitude of witness is taught in philosophy, where you're constantly observing, अभी देखो मुझे jealousy हो रही है. Realizing कि ये क्या है, ये क्या, why am I talking? This is my jealousy 100%. Identification will happen and automatically dismissal will happen. So that's the bhav that is taught in yoga, to not store anything. And इसी भाव से क्षमा आ जाती है, संतोष आ जाता है, contentment आ जाता है. उसके बाद कोई भी emotion आपको उस intensity से hit नहीं कर सकता जितना वो अभी कर रहा है.
Beautiful. I think I don't have any other words, just beautiful. ग्रीशा जी, जब आप कुछ भी शुरू करते हैं आप हरिओम बोलते हैं. मैंने ये आपके इंस्टाग्राम पे भी देखा है, और आज भी जब आप यहाँ आए आपने स्टार्ट किया, नोटिस्ड आपने पहले हरिओम किया एंड देन यू स्टार्टेड ऑफ. What is the story, if you could share a little bit about that?
Hariom is something that I picked up during my sadhana in Rishikesh. When I went there, I would see my teachers greeting each other with Hariom, and there was just something so beautiful about greeting everyone with Hariom or saying Hariom so much. And when I understood the true meaning of it, it really resonated with my soul and what I wanted to pursue at that point in time, and it stayed with me always. So Hariom is Om. We say that is that one God. You know, when you say Omkar, right? Even in Sikh Dharma, they say Om Ek Omkar, right? So we say that there is one God, that is Om, right? That is how powerful Om is. That's why even in yoga or in the spiritual practices, Om comes before every mantra. It is that Bija mantra that comes before every other mantra. And Om chanting is, a lot, it's stressed upon a lot during the practices that you have to perfect the Omkar, you have to perfect the Omkar. So Hari means Har, that means take away. So when you're saying Hari Om to someone internally, you're praying while you're greeting them, that may that one God takes away your pain,
How
right? The
beautiful.
pain that is coming from various sources to you, may that Om takes away that pain from you. So it just felt so beautiful that instead of saying hi, hello, which is very nice, way of greeting, but when you say Hari Om, it's like you're not just saying greeting, but you're praying for them at the same time. So it stayed with me until date. I think it's just part of me now.
Yeah, I can see that. In fact, I got to know that in your ashram, when the cooking is done, while cooking, Om chanting is done. What is, according to you, the power that chanting holds?
So I'll give you an example. Let's say there is this singing bowl, right? You see there is a cavity in between, right? When I play this, because there is a cavity, the sound has a lot of power to travel in this cavity and reverberate. So, and you see, when you play this, the sound lasts for a while, right? And the vibration is felt. If you put water in this and start playing, the water will make certain patterns, right? And it will be different for different people. If you play, the water will make different patterns. And because there's a slight difference between how I'm playing and you're playing, right? And your energies and my energy, there's going to be the vibrations happen when there is cavity. When you do chanting, there are cavities in your body. There is cavity in the pelvis. There is cavity in the abdominal region. There's a cavity in your chest region. There's a cavity in your kapala, right? With your skull. So when you do chanting, you are increasing the vibration of these chanting in all of those cavities. If you see, all the key and major functioning of your body happens in this region, the upper body, right? Starting from the pelvis till to the top. All your senses are here primarily. Your major glands are here. Your heart is here, right? And along this spine, all the chakras are placed. So when you do chanting, the prana is inside you. The vital energy force is running in your body already. That's why you are living and breathing and alive. What you do is when you chant, you increase the vibration, you increase the potency of this vibration in a manner that it start vibrating at a higher frequency within those cavities. And when that happens, the prana start traveling up more. The intensity in which prana is flowing right now, it increases when you chant. So chanting is a tool to increase the flow of prana in your body. And the more prana in your body, the more the healing is. The more your cells, the more oxygen goes to your cell, first of all. The cell degeneration part gets impacted. The detoxifying of the cells happen when the prana is flowing. Like imagine you put a plant in a closed box and you put a plant where there's a lot of oxygen and exchange of air is happening. This plant will die sooner, right? Why? Because there's no oxygen provided. There's no. So imagine there are parts in your body, there's cells in your body which are deprived of that vital energy at the moment. And when you're chanting, you're increasing the intensity of the vibration in a manner that the prana starts flowing in those areas of the body. And it has a huge impact on your nervous system. Sound, nad, is something that has a load of power to change the way you feel. You listen to certain type of music, immediately your
I was
emotions
just going to
will,
mention
yes,
something as simple as music.
music. So it is same when you're chanting, you are increasing the vibrations, especially in these cavities in your body, and you're increasing the flow of the energy in that specific chakra and the overall, because those chakras are providing energy throughout the body. And when the effectivity increases in the chakra, in those centers, energy centers, obviously your body gets more prana, more vital force.
Who do you think should definitely do chanting, and where in this journey should one start chanting?
So chanting is powerful and helpful in many ways. People who have a lot of anxiety issues, they cannot sit and meditate. It's very hard for them to close their eyes and begin practicing. For them, chanting is very highly powerful. So people who are more of a rajasic prakriti, we tell them to always emphasize more on chanting and less on silence. The idea of chanting is to, so there are three ways to chant. Let me explain this to you while we speak. There is Vaikhari. Vaikhari is the louder form of chanting, especially for people who find it difficult to sit and meditate. You do loud chanting, okay? That is a nice way to soothe your nervous system down. And then the other way is the manas. Manas is like you do the mental chanting, right? And upansu is lip sync. So second is upansu basically, where from louder you are just chanting. And then the third is the chanting is happening in the mind, right? That's how you take people from this state to this and to this. So people who definitely find it very difficult to sit and meditate, they should actually do the louder form of chanting. There comes a time automatically in your chanting, you'll feel like getting silent. Only lip sync will happen. And this state comes on your own. At first, you may do mechanically, but as you do this, automatically the upansu will happen. And there comes a time where the desire to even move your lips go away. That's how chanting in itself can bring you a state of meditation.
इतनी ब्यूटीफुल बातें कर रहे हैं हम यहाँ पे. I really want to talk about this thing. I think commonly people use this word of manifestation. I feel that attitude and your thoughts are such a powerful thing that a lot of us miss out on, don't realize how life-changing these things can be. So I really don't want to limit this episode to yoga and meditation. Like you said, हमें एक वो philosophical part के बिना तो योग incomplete है. So I really want to talk to you about this thing. क्या आप manifestation में believe करते हैं?
मैनिफेस्टेशन वेस्टर्न टर्मिनोलॉजी है, बट मैं अगर योगिक टर्म में इसको एक्सप्लेन करूँ कि इसे क्या कहते हैं, मैं उसमें बिलीव करती हूँ बिकॉज आई हैव लिव्ड दैट, आई हैव फेल्ट दैट एंड आई एम बीइंग एबल टू ट्रांसमिट दैट टू ऑल द प्रैक्टिशनर्स हु कम टू अस. एंड इन योगा यू कॉल दिस संकल्प शक्ति. मैनिफेस्टेशन is called sankalp shakti. That means your ability. So there are two, sankalp shakti and chitta shakti, right? These are the two things that you learn in yoga, which is similar to manifestation. It's like ability to take sankalp, ability to create your willpower. Willpower is called your sankalp shakti. So ability to cultivate more of the willpower. And chitta shakti is the ability to drive that willpower in a manner that all your thoughts are directed towards fulfilling that sankalp that you've taken, right? So this is what we cultivate in yoga, which in Western terminologies can be called manifestation. Manifestation is not useful if you sit here asking for something, okay, I want this, I want this, I want this. You have to take, that's why yoga is so beautiful. They say first take sankalp. Why you are doing this? What is your purpose? Where is it leading you? Is it only material or it is more than that? So first you take the sankalp. Once you take the sankalp, prepare your chitta to think, believe and act in that manner. So you must live it in a manner that the sankalpa has come true. I am giving
That's
you
the most important
a
part.
very powerful tool. If you're listening to me very carefully, you have to start living like as if the manifestation has come true. Everything around you, जो आप ये कहते हो ना कि हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं, हो नहीं पा रही है प्रैक्टिस, कर नहीं पा रहे हैं, आपको ये मान लेना है कि सच हो चुका है जो मैं चाहती थी करना. Then your mind become more affirmed. It basically gets affirmed कि अब तो ये सच हो गया है. Now every action around it or your life start adjusting towards that sankalpa on its own. So that is the power of sankalp shakti. First, sankalp dharan. taking the sankalp, and then making sure that all your practice, your mind is over and over again thinking of that sankalp. एक passion, एक ऊर्जा आपके अंदर है. And then all, chitta means all the actions that are, thoughts that are coming, whatever you're cultivating through your thoughts, cultivating around that sankalp, that's how your manifestations come true. And tell me something, if I am passionate about bringing yoga to everyone, if I am feeling it in my bones and flesh, the person sitting next to me will feel it. That is how, when you say universe come to support you, this is the science of it. When someone sees you working, effort, full of efforts, you are working towards a certain purpose, believe me, you are bound to only meet those people, because everything that is unnecessary, your chitta is not even entertaining, because chitta is now rooted to sankalp. So it is only going to identify the people who are going to help you and bring them to you. That's what, my friend, we call universe is helping you.
Yeah. And I think a very sort of interesting takeaway that I'm listening when you say this is a lot of times when you hear people, मैं एक सिंपल चीज़ बताती हूँ. मेरे ऑफिस में जब कोई लीडर होता है जो ऐसे बात करता है, तो मैं पहले ही सोचने लग जाती हूँ कि ये होना अब बहुत मुश्किल है. एंड आई ट्राई टू फर्स्ट वर्क ऑन देयर एटीट्यूड, बिकॉज आई नो कि अगर ये ऐसे बोल रहा है तो इसके सामने भी होगा वो नहीं हो पाएगा. एंड इट्स सॉर्ट ऑफ रियली ब्रिंग्स अस बैक टू द पॉइंट दैट यू सेड, दैट वो स्क्रीन बनना, टू हैव दैट अवेयरनेस कि तुम्हारा ब्रेन क्या थॉट सोच रहा है और उसमें से कितने पॉजिटिव आ रहे हैं, कितने नेगेटिव आ रहे हैं. एंड टू कम टू दैट लेवल कि सिर्फ नेगेटिव पॉजिटिव नहीं, बट 100% ये तो हो चुका है, मैंने इस इम्पॉसिबल को अचीव कर लिया है, which is what you just said, would be just beautiful.
So I'll tell you how your mind basically functions is, again, that's why we say there's no yoga without philosophy, because all these tools you only get to learn in philosophy. So mind, when they unfold, right, when they literally open your mind and define everything in parts, and I'm not talking about brain is anatomically you can see, okay, ये frontal lobe है, ये है, लेकिन in mind, the minds, there is certain part of the mind is called manas, and it has a specific role. Manas does two things, sankalp and vikalp. उसके दो ही काम है. The moment you decide I want to do something, the doubts will start coming in. That happens every time. The only job of the manas is give you these two things, either sankalp or vikalp. So the moment you take a sankalp that I want to do something, the vikalp will start taking over. If your sankalp power is very strong, backed by these positive thoughts, backed by realizing that or believing that it has already come true, the vikalp gets weaker and weaker. The idea is to not learn how to cut down on the negative thinking, which is the doubts, the vikalpa, but to strengthen the sankalp, to bring in more positivity. If you want to bring light to a dark room, you don't remove the darkness and then turn on the light. To remove the darkness, you turn on the light. So you have to focus on cultivating positivity, which a lot gets developed when you talk to yourself positively. When you tell yourself that this is coming true. I am moving 1% more every day. So the more positivity you bring to your life, the vikalpa, the doubts, and the negative self-talk will come down. Your brain gets approximately, one of the studies that was done, 60 to 70,000 thoughts in a day, out of which 95% are repetitive.
Oh my God.
Out of which 70% are negative. That's why a lot of people are now victim to negative self-talk, lack of confidence, because that's how your brain is conditioned at the moment. Because brain kahan se condition hua hai na? Mind survival instinct se. Back in those days, everything for humans was just about survival and reproduce and figure out the food. So your mind is conditioned to be aware of all the possible dangers that are coming your way. That's why your fear mechanism kicks in very fast. It's coming from there. But now you live in an environment which is not very challenging actually. We have all the amenities. but your mind is developed from that stage to here. So cultivate positivity, and that's what yoga does. It simply cultivates positivity in you, and negative is taken care of.
Beautiful. Um, I think this would be a perfect end to our chat, right? It sort of completes the conversation. We have a next segment to this episode, which is called Busting Myths. We actually went out and tried understanding कि क्या लोगों के मन में शंका, doubts, questions है, और हमने कुछ कलेक्ट करके यहाँ रखा है, एंड हमें आपकी हेल्प चाहिए टू टेल अस क्या सही है, क्या गलत है, what is a myth and what is not.
Right. So, to be very honest, I am not someone who knows what is right and wrong or is in capacity to share. But what I have learned from my teachers, my gurus, and books, I will just bring that forth to you.
Yoga is very feminine and should only be practiced by women. मैं आपको बताती हूँ, मेरी 30 लोगों की क्लास में, ग्रीशा जी, there are 3 very sincere men. If I'll go today and ask all 3 of those men, they are very happy with yoga. They did not expect it to be so useful. But 3 ही है 30 में.
मैं एक सच बात बताऊं अंदर की. There is a side of man that wants to experience life like a woman does. They are suppressed and conditioned by the society in a manner that they actually do not come in contact with their feminine energies more. So, slowing down, I think every human deserves, irrespective of gender. And yoga is nothing but slowing down and connecting to yourself and restoring your health. I do not see in which manner this is more feminine or masculine. For that matter, in yoga, if you study, it works on 2 energies. One is masculine and one is feminine, right? One is Ida and one is Pingala. There is Shiva and there is Shakti. And it is said that without that there is no union. So here you are inviting both the energies which is present in both the genders. It is present in men and it is present in women. So there is no question about yoga is more feminine and gym is more masculine. Imagine men are struggling with anger issues so much. They go in the gym in a competitive environment where everyone is just pumping very good. It gives you confidence. But where is the slowdown? Where is the connection with the self? Again, you're putting yourself out there in such a competitive environment and you're stressing yourself so much. While it helps in releasing the stress, but again, you are in a very competitive environment. So I think yoga, oh my God, is not gender specific. It should be done by everyone, because in women there is a masculine energy and in men there is a feminine energy. And I want to tell you that there is a side, believe it or not, in men that wants to experience love the way women experience it. Okay? And when they do, we have seen many men, their faces and their body changing when they come to our sadhana program.
Wow. Yoga is only for thin people, and if you are fat, it will not help you lose weight.
Believe me, if you do your practices right, pranayam itself can bring a huge amount of weight loss. Not by cutting down your fat, it does to a great extent, but stopping you from overeating. So when you say yoga, while it works on your physical body and that may take longer from any other aspect of the practice, but what it does internally is जो आपकी ओवर ईटिंग टेंडेंसीज होती हैं, जो आपका इधर इधर ल्योर हो जाना, चीज़ों पे स्थिर ना हो पाना, अपने माइंड को कंट्रोल ना कर पाना, आप कितनी मर्जी एक्सरसाइज कर लीजिए, जब आपका माइंड ही ओवर ईटिंग में रूटेड है तो हाउ इज़ दिस गोइंग टू हेल्प? सो योगा वर्क्स 2 ways in your system. That's why it may take longer, but it will completely uproot the desire of overeating, so you never end up gaining weight again.
Very well said. Yoga requires a total lifestyle change.
Yoga is a lifestyle change. Yoga is a lifestyle in itself. There is yogic dincharya. There is a way in yoga, they say that yoga is not just a practice you do on the mat in the morning. It's how you live your life. It in itself is a lifestyle. It does not require you to change your lifestyle. It's just so beautiful that when you start practicing yoga, automatically the change starts happening. The point is, you do practice. If
Starting
you do
off.
practice, yes, the lifestyle change will happen on its own. What is not serving you, believe me when I say that, and I'm talking with 100% authority because I've experienced that. What is not serving you will leave you.
Having a flexible body is important to do yoga asanas.
Yoga asanas are supposed to bring flexibility. If you already have flexibility, why are we even doing this practice, right? Asanas are supposed to bring flexibility and increase the prana in your body. That's what it does.
Yoga can be learned online or through a book.
I would say learned, no. Okay, there are, and when I say learn, there are different aspects I'm talking about. You can practice with a teacher online, good, because I understand in this demanding environment not everyone can go to offline spaces or take up sadhanas like us. We had to leave our career, and you can't afford to do that, right? Not everyone wants to be on this path. You can definitely learn it from a good teacher provided online live. Okay, online live learning from a good teacher can bring a lot of difference, and this is another myth actually I'm bursting. A lot of people say it cannot be learned online. Actually, the other positive side of it is, when you are doing physical practice, the teacher will come and adjust you. You won't know what adjustment happened for me to get there. In online, a good teacher will instruct you to adjust your body at such minuscule levels, and the teacher will guide you. A good teacher will always guide you. This much pressure on the right side of the heel. Okay, now you're feeling it on the it's getting ingrained in your system so beautifully that even without the teacher, you know what I should feel and how I should adjust myself. And that is a plus sign of learning yoga online. Number two, accessibility. Our schedule is so demanding that today we cannot afford to go to a studio. For some people, the studio is very far off. They have to get to work. Imagine in your comfort, in the comfort of your home, all you have to do is just get ready and be on the mat and learn it from that teacher.
You cannot practice yoga if you have a bad back.
What do you mean by bad back?
Back problems.
Back problems. Okay. There are two ways to look at it. If you have gone through some sort of accident and there is injury in your spine, you can still do yoga with a therapist, offline preferably, not online, because it can be risky for you. Offline with a therapist who is going to teach you practices in a manner to strengthen your back. Okay, you can still do yoga. Yoga is for everyone. Okay, this is in the case if you have injury. If you have general lifestyle back pain, then you must do yoga to
Yoga.
fix it.
Agreed, completely agree. Neck and back problems, yoga is phenomenal. Meditation is only for older people.
Sure, I'm very old. No, that's not true. Meditation is the need of hour, because starting from, I mean, we've had 20-year-old coming to our sadhana program. What? Anxiety, lost, confused. Imagine yourself being confused in the age of 20. Were you confused? We were so different in the age of 20, full of passion, wanting to do things. And generation today is under stress. Suicides happening, teenage suicide happening. Imagine 16-year-old, 18-year-old committing suicide. This is an alarming situation. And so one thing that can definitely prevent is, that's why we are working so hard to get to schools and colleges and make yoga a very very important part of practice, and not just like आप कुछ आसन कर लो, because school में अभी भी वैसे ही teach किया जाता है, colleges में अभी भी वैसे teach किया जाता है, but at least teaching them the importance of it, right? So how they can prevent themselves from anxiety and from confusion as they grow forward in their life and their career. So no, there's no such thing as it is for old people.
Next one, yoga can prevent any disease.
That is not entirely true. Okay, disease now is something that can be genetic. It is passed on from genes. उसे आप रोक नहीं सकते जो जीन से आ रहे हैं आपकी बॉडी में, लेकिन आप उसे मैनेज कर सकते हो. एनी डिजीज कैन बी completely, if you are very lucky and your body responds to the practices and therapies, you may actually reverse it also. We've seen many cases. But there are certain problems which come from your genes which cannot be entirely reversed but can be managed so beautifully that it doesn't bother you or impact your immunity in any sense. So I am sorry, there are no 5 asana, 2 pranayam, 1 mudra that can fix anything. That is not how yoga works. The Instagram has just
5 asanas for hair loss.
Yes, you are
Doesn't
so
happen that
they
way.
practice this asana and your belly fat will go away. Oh my god. This is not good. And if my dear yoga teachers in the community are listening me, अगर हमसे ये गलती हुई है तो हमें इसे ठीक करना चाहिए. हमें इस तरीके से योगा बिल्कुल भी नहीं टीच करना है और ना ही कभी किसी को ये फील कराना है कि योगा तो सिर्फ आप तब करो जब आपको बीमारी हो रही है. ये एक बहुत बड़ी चीज़ है जो हो रही है कि हम सिर्फ प्रॉब्लम जस्ट फॉर द एल्गोरिदम हम बोलते हैं कि आपको बस प्रॉब्लम है तो आप योगा करो. दैट्स नॉट ट्रू. आप योगा करो ताकि प्रॉब्लम ही ना हो. दैट शुड बी आवर
Yeah, I think a better quality of life, whether you have a disease, don't have a disease, just having a better, more peaceful, stronger life. Krisha ji, आप इतने लोगों से interact करते, people come to you. I'm sure they ask questions, they have certain thought processes. आपको गलतियां और myths दिखते होंगे कि ये गलत ये गलत हो रहा है, ये wrong direction में जा रही है, ऐसा नहीं होता है. Tell us some of the myths that you really want people to know.
सो मैं इसको पूरी तरीके से मिथ नहीं कहूँगी बट लैक ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग होगी या लैक ऑफ नॉलेज होगी रादर. दैट फॉर एग्जाम्पल one of the challenge that I see nowadays people take up without understanding the limitation and prakriti of their bodies. Let's do 108 Surya Namaskar. 108 Surya Namaskar, I mean, it is a lot for a body who is not prepared for such kind of push. 108 Surya Namaskar is like multiplied by 12 asanas you are doing. This is the amount of asana you are doing in one go, and you are also time mapping it. If your body is pitta body type, if their body has a lot of rajas, this is going to blast a volcano inside your body. I am sorry, that's not how it should be taken up. And I do not know where 108 Surya Namaskar concept is written. The scriptures don't talk about it. 108 is a spiritual number, I understand, but associating it with Surya Namaskar, that to a physical practices, which is one Surya Namaskar is comprised of 12 asanas and 180 to 12 asanas. Not everybody can do this unless you are an athlete or physically fit person. You may end up in injury. The heat in your body will go absurd and you may develop a lot of problems after that. Your body might also collapse. Your blood pressure can get impacted. So these are the kind of random challenges that come up on Instagram that may seem like very enticing, and they may seem like just because we are using 108 it comes from scriptural backing. That's not true. So there are many such myths, but definitely one of the myths is this that I really want to bust right now. Please don't attempt 108 Surya Namaskars like that. Okay? Very wrong.
Awesome. We also got some questions. We told people that you are coming in and they wrote down some questions. So, hello, I started meditating a few months ago. During meditation, my eyes tend to focus on the middle of my eyebrows and this causes a heavy headache. Is this correct way of meditating? Please help if I'm doing something wrong.
So, bringing your focus to one point does not necessarily involve tensing or stressing your eyeballs into that area. Very simple practice of when you inhale through the nostril, just observe the breath coming till the forehead and going down. This in itself will eventually bring your awareness here without rolling your eyes up and tensing. Rolling the eyes up is a mudra, which is Shambhavi Mudra in yoga practice. If you are not used to this, it happens with a lot of people that initially it starts creating headache because people really push their eyes up. Anything that involves pushing or stressing is not how yoga is practiced. If you want to bring the awareness, just bring the awareness without tensing your eyes up. A lot of advanced practitioners can do, like us, we can roll our eyes up for a longer period of time. It comes with practice. You can do that and then exhale, release. Do that, train the mind slowly. You can't keep it up for a longer time like this. So you can bring the awareness down. First, do it with the breath, then, along with the inhale, roll eyes up, then relax, roll eyes up, relax. Do that, then increase the whole time, and that's how you train.
हेलो मैम, एक रील में आप कॉन्स्टिपेशन के लिए नेवल ऑयलिंग के बारे बात कर रही थी. क्या प्रेगनेंसी में भी नेवल ऑयलिंग की जा सकती है? प्लीज एक्सप्लेन व्हाट इज.
बिल्कुल की जा सकती है. प्रेगनेंसी में नेवल ऑयलिंग, लोअर बेली ऑयलिंग, पेल्विस ऑयलिंग, पेरिनियम रीजन ऑयलिंग, एवरीथिंग इज वेरी वेरी बेनिफिशियल. नेवल ऑयलिंग स्पेशली. एंड व्हेन आई एम सेइंग कॉन्स्टिपेशन, प्रेगनेंसी में कॉन्स्टिपेशन होना एक बहुत कॉमन कंडीशन होती है, क्योंकि आपके इंटेस्टाइन्स पे प्रेशर आ जाता है, वो क्रंच हो जाता है, बाउल मूवमेंट आपका इम्पैक्ट होता ही होता है. तो जब आप ऑयलिंग करते हैं नेवल के अंदर, वो आपकी इंटेस्टाइन तक पहुंचता है, उनको लुब्रिकेट करता है. और ये एक ऐसी प्रैक्टिस है जो हमारे बचपन से ही हमारे पेरेंट्स हमारे साथ करते आ रहे हैं. कभी भी कॉन्स्टिपेशन होता है, होता था भी बचपन में, तो माय ग्रैंड मदर, आई रिमेंबर, यूज्ड टू डू नेवल ऑयलिंग. सो नेवल ऑयलिंग इज एब्सोल्युटली सेफ इन प्रेगनेंसी आल्सो.
What should I do if I experience navel displacement? Can I still perform yoga asanas if I'm prone or have navel displacement? Additionally, could you recommend some asanas and kriyas that could help prevent frequent navel displacement?
Again, navel displacement happens because of weak core. That is something that we get a lot. So I will not recommend anything to you here, because I don't know why it is happening. Again, giving solution, jumping onto solution without understanding what is the possible cause of it. You should actually meet a good yoga therapist offline, talk to them, let them understand the cause of it, understand your body, and then guide you into the right practices. But the reason of it is a weak core.
हेलो मैम, इवनिंग में अक्सर लेथार्जिक फील करती हूँ, जबकि मेरा काम इतना फिजिकली डिमांडिंग नहीं है. मेरा ब्लड लेवल भी नॉर्मल रहता है. क्या कोई योगा आसना या डाइट प्लान है जिससे मैं ज़्यादा एनर्जेटिक फील कर सकूँ?
देखिए, एनर्जी तो वो सुबह वाली प्रैक्टिस से आएगी ना. तो अगर आप सुबह उठ के अपनी प्रैक्टिस करोगे 1 घंटा, तो आप शाम क्या रात तक आपको कोई लेथार्जी नहीं होगी. और ज़रूरी नहीं होता है कि वर्क फिजिकली डिमांडिंग होता है, वर्क मेंटली डिमांडिंग भी होता है. अगर मेंटली डिमांडिंग वर्क आपका है तो आप एग्जॉस्ट फील करोगे. उसका साइन होता है आंखें बंद हो जाना, आंखों से पानी निकलना, शाम आते हैवीनेस फील होना आंखों में. इसका मतलब आपने अपने माइंड को एग्जॉस्ट कर दिया है. तो अगेन, टेक प्रोडक्टिव ब्रेक्स इन बिटवीन एंड डू योर प्रैक्टिस इन द मॉर्निंग, so your energy is retained till the time you sleep.
Ma'am, could you suggest a mudra to improve oxygen saturation? My mother has recently been diagnosed with obstructive sleep apnea and has been advised to use oxygen.
I am not going to give you one mudra.
I'm so glad you answered that, because after listening to your chat, I was like, ये question ही गलत है.
I am not, because one mudra may give you certain benefits, but it is not going to fix your problem. You have to again associate with a good yoga therapist, understand why it is happening. There are pros and cons on every mudra. Understand what you should practice, what you should not practice, and then take up any practice.
हरिओम ग्रीशा जी, मुझे कुछ दिनों से काफ़ी बर्नआउट फील हो रहा है. वन ऑफ माई फ्रेंड्स सजेस्टेड आई शुड गो ऑन अ 1 week स्पिरिचुअल रिट्रीट टू एन आश्रम फॉर ट्रॉमा रिलीज मेडिटेशन. ये आपका प्रॉपर फॉलोअर है कोई? इज दिस द राइट स्टेप? कैन यू प्लीज गाइड मी ऑन व्हाट शुड आई डू?
डेफिनेटली एक ब्रेक बहुत हेल्प करता है. जब आप अपने रेगुलर मंडेन से सेटिंग से ब्रेक लेके कहीं जाते हो, तो एक फ्रेश पर्सपेक्टिव मिलता है. आप अपने भीतर में जो चल रहा है उसे अच्छे से देख पाते हो, जो कि आप अपनी सेटिंग में कभी भी नहीं देख पाते. तो येस, इट इज़ गोइंग टू हेल्प, बट मेक श्योर wherever you are going, they're enabling you to learn the right tools and practices also, which will help you in preventing yourself falling back into the trauma and such kind of exhaustion. So जाइए, आप ज़रूर जाइए, लेकिन ये ध्यान रखिए कि जहाँ भी आप जा रहे हो वो आपको एजुकेट कर रहे हैं, वो टूल्स दे रहे हैं जो कि आपको हेल्प करेंगे कि वापस से आप इस स्टेट में.
एंड आई थिंक वापस आकर डे टू डे लाइफ में आप कैसे कुछ चेंज लाओ, बिकॉज आई नो पीपल के साल में एक बार रिट्रीट में जाते हैं, फिर वापस आके वही लाइफ जीते हैं, फिर एक साल बाद फिर से गंदा फील हो रहा है, वेट गेन हो गया है, अब रिट्रीट पे जाने का टाइम आ गया है.
ये तो वो नवरात्रे की फास्ट वाली बात होगी, जैसे 12 बजे लास्ट फास्ट में यू आर वेटिंग कि फास्ट खत्म हो और हम कुछ खा लें, तो ऐसे नहीं चलेगा.
Grisha ji, currently I'm experiencing a decrease in my eyesight and I've started using glasses. Is there any yoga exercise that can help me improve my
यहाँ मैं
eyesight?
आपको आंसर दे सकती हूँ, बिल्कुल. एक तो आपको स्क्रीन टाइम तो डेफिनेटली कम करना ही करना है अपना. दूसरा, त्राटक क्रिया आप कर सकते हैं. त्राटक क्रिया से आपकी आई की जो पावर है, जो मसल स्ट्रेंथ है आईज की, वो बहुत इम्प्रूव होती है. त्राटक क्रिया इज फ्लेम गेजिंग. Tratak Kriya is flame gazing. So you keep a flame, preferably in a dark room where there is no wind or fan, 1 arm distance away from you at eye level, ताकि आपकी गर्दन नीचे ना झुके. उस फ्लेम को आप देखते रहिए जब तक कि आपकी आंखों से पानी आएगा. टेंस होंगे, फिर बंद कीजिए, फिर आंखों को रिलैक्स करके फिर से गेजिंग कीजिए. जो अगर 10 से 12 मिनट या 15 मिनट अगर आप कर सकते हैं, इट इज़ गोइंग टू ब्रिंग अ लॉट ऑफ चेंज इन योर आई साइट.
हरिओम ग्रीशा जी, पिछले कुछ महीनों में मेरा बेली फैट काफ़ी बढ़ गया है. इसके पहले नॉर्मल एक्सरसाइजेज और थोड़ा कार्डियो से आई केप्ट माई वेट इन चेक, बट अभी वो भी हेल्प नहीं कर रहा. कैन यू सजेस्ट सम योगा आसन टू रिड्यूस माई स्टबर्न बेली फैट?
There is no one yoga asana, again, I would say, to reduce your belly fat. This can be bloating in your belly. It can be a lot of gas issues that is happening. There are asana that helps release bloating and gastric issues, strengthen your digestion system so that does not happen. But you have to follow a balanced lifestyle, especially eating. हो सकता है आप कार्ब इंटेक बढ़ा रहे हैं, हो सकता है आप अपने थायराइड लेवल्स चेक कराइए. कभी कभी हमारा बॉडी में इन्फ्लेमेशन होने लगता है, दैट कैन बी बिकॉज ऑफ डिस्टर्बेंस इन थायराइड ग्लैंड एंड द हार्मोन्स. आप अपना लाइफस्टाइल चेक कीजिए कि आप स्लीप कर रहे हैं ढंग से, कहीं आप जल्दी जल्दी तो नहीं खा रहे, ओवर ईटिंग तो नहीं कर रहे हो, क्या आपका कार्ब इंटेक बहुत ज़्यादा है, इट्स नॉट बैलेंस्ड, क्या आपकी डाइट में या खाने में वाटर कंटेंट कम है, तो भी आपको ब्लोटिंग होगी. सो दीज कैन बी द रीजंस वाई. हो सकता है बेली फैट नहीं बढ़ रहा है, लेकिन आप ब्लोटेड फील करते हैं बहुत ज़्यादा.
हेलो मैम, मेरा नाम आशीष है. मैं रेगुलर जिम जाता था, लेकिन मेजर बैक इंजरीज की वजह से डॉक्टर ने मुझे वेट लिफ्ट करने से मना किया है. क्या योगना आसन से मसल स्ट्रेंथ बढ़ सकती है?
100% बहुत बढ़ती है. योगा आसन जब आप होल्ड करते हैं अपना बॉडी वेट अपने ही मसल्स के ऊपर, तो ऐसा मसल गेन होता है कि मसल आसानी से ड्रॉप भी नहीं होता है. दिस इज़ द ब्यूटी of gaining strength through yoga, and this is something that I'm talking out of experience. My muscle mass does not drop very easily because I have used my body weight to train myself. So ना केवल balance, coordination और focus increase होता है, but strength definitely काफ़ी increase होती है.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We've sort of ended our
Hari
Q&A
Om.
as well.
We'll just do 1 Om and 3 Shantis. That's what I always do.
Okay, let's do that.
Take a deep breath in. Exhale out. 1 Om, 3 Shantis. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat.